Good morning and welcome to Operational Communications. My name is Glenn Lord, I'm the Inspector here, and my role is the Response Coordinator, or commonly known as the RESCO, within Fire Rescue New South Wales. Not to be confused with the RCO, which is a police position which details rescue incidents, but the RESCO. My role is to oversee the response of all appliances basically to all incidences across New South Wales, and to ensure that we have that correct weight of attack when we do respond. So if we receive numerous 000s to a factory alight or the like, we can upgrade the response, or we can use what's built into the CAD. So if we pick a second alarm response or a third alarm response, the CAD will do so much of that, but it's that human interaction of the RESCO and with the guidance of my supervisors, who will make sort of decisions to go, let's get this going up to a third alarm, fourth alarm or the like. The role of the RESCO is quite varied. We're responsible for managing, well, I'm responsible, it's a 24/7 position, so we have 4 platoons, we have 4 RESCOs. So we're responsible for approximately 20 people per shift. We have 2 ComSens, as we know, fire comms, one in Newcastle, one in Sydney. And the reason for that is that we have that redundancy under our business continuity plan, that, and particularly in times of COVID-19, if we were to lose a centre, if someone was to walk in here with COVID-19, we'd have to shut the station or shut Sydney Comms down, do the terminal clean, maybe stand people off for 14 days. We've still got that redundancy in Newcastle and vice versa. So if Newcastle was affected, so at the moment there's no cross detailing of staff to either ComSend. They're both standing independent, so that that's just that measure of continuity that we've put in place. So other roles of the response coordinator, I'm responsible for notifications, making sure that all our senior officers, right up to the Minister's office, are aware of what's going on across the state. We use the SUN principle, which is any incident that's significant, any incident that's unusual, any incident that we think is newsworthy, that needs to be notified up. The last thing we want is our senior officers being surprised by something in the media, or getting a phone call from one of the media outlets asking about a job that they have no knowledge of. That's our role. We're probably responsible for most of the interagency liaisons, making sure that we comply with all the memorandums of understanding that we have, and we have numerous. So Safe Work New South Wales, if we see a workplace incident come across our desk, we make sure that we notify out. Also, we work in close liaison with the RFS. As most people would know, we're the 000 call centre here for all fires. So we're the 000 call taking centre for the RFS and the SES. So if people call through to Telstra and Telstra will say, please fire ambulance, if people say I've got a tree on my house or I've got wires down, they will put that call to us. So we will manage that with either call centre and make sure that we get the right response. And be that RFS, if it is RFS, we will notify that rural fire district and they will get their trucks on the road. So another component of it, I guess, or role of the response coordinator is the managing of the SOC. Let me take you out here to the SOC. The SOC, we call it the SOC, the Strategic Operations Centre, once known as the MIC. It's now known as the SOC. Next door to us we have the Railway Operations Centre, which is the ROC. We have the Police Operations Centre, which is the POC. We have the Bushfire Incident Command Centre, which is the BIC. We have the CEOP, the State Emergency Operations Centre. This is our SOC. So the SOC is currently at standby at the moment, so that's the role of the RESCO, to ensure that I can ramp that up at any given time, depending on what incident is developing, or if it requires such an escalation. At the moment, it's nice and quiet, and we have got a bit of a Tasman low sitting off, as you can see up here on the bomb. We've got a bit of a Tasman low, but if that was to impact and come into land, we'd probably be working flat out, and we would then probably activate this room. At the moment, fingers crossed, it's all good. So what we also utilise as part of the tools, here's the dynamic coverage tool. Now, this is an interesting tool that assists us with making sure that we ensure coverage across the whole of the state. At the moment, I'm focused on the GSA to ensure that I've got coverage. So
what's the GSA?
The Greater Sydney area. So, I can scale that out to the whole of the state, but the whole of the state, we have slightly different responses because we know geographically New South Wales is such a huge open land, and we know what we're dealing with out there, and that's part of the supervisors, who I'll introduce you to in a minute, their role to make sure that we have that coverage. And we move stations from town to town out in the regional areas. In Sydney, it's more moving stations from suburb to suburb. So at the moment, you can see if it's in the blue or the green, it's lovely. It's saying that we will have a truck on site within 3 minutes, 6 minutes, 9 minutes. The red's a little bit tender, as you can see up here in the north. We've got 2 appliances out. They may just be out at automatic fire alarms. I'm not sure what they're out at the moment, but we can quickly move stations using this tool up into those areas to maintain fire coverage for those areas and ensure that we are providing the greatest service for people in New South Wales. Probably the great thing about this room is how quickly it can activate. During the bushfires, which really started probably in, I don't know, the end of August last year and went through to late January before we got hit by floods, this room was abuzz. So we scaled it up very quickly to assistant commissioner level. We have constant visits from deputy commissioners, and the commissioner and the directors were all out here during that bushfire period. To give you an example, if I was to get a call right now for 10 strike teams, that would mean I would have to pull 40 stations out of their stations, find myself 10 strike team leaders, which would be all the duty commanders pretty much across the whole GSA, and throw them at whatever incident, if it was a major bushfire or flood, whatever. During the bushfires, we got to 41 strike teams one day out of this room, that's 164 appliances, that's 41 strike team leader cars and vehicles, 41 strike team leaders, so we use all the duty commanders, recalls, and we work in close unison with operational staffing. The ESA were amazing, of course the BIC. So requests for those strike teams would come from the BIC, they come to us, we put them together, and we will liaise with staffing, with the ESA fleet officer, and we're pulling all the SEVs, which is the service exchange vehicles. We're pulling all the appliances out of the training college, and we're just throwing them. But 41, it may not sound like too many, it's an amazing resource. We only have 350 odd stations across the whole state. We've got about 100 in the GSA, so you do the math. That was an amazing effort by all our people during those bushfires. Come through, I'd like to take you into the comm centre. Now the comm centre is staffed in Sydney by 2 supervisors and 8 staff. I have 8 staff. We also operate the MCC out of Sydney. In Newcastle, the MCC is the Mobile Command Unit, which would respond to all major fires. 4th alarm up, but any duty commander or any incident controller for that matter can respond to the MCC at any time. Doesn't matter what the incident is, it will keep you out of inclement weather, it will give you a really accurate and direct link into the SCAD, which is the Emergency Services Computer Aided Dispatch System, which you can see here. These are my 2 supervisors that are on today. I've got Andrew, and I've got Greg over there. They're basically captains of the ship. If you can see basically how this room operates, they're at the head of the room and they're monitoring all the operations of what our staff are doing. And the staff are taking on alternate consoles, we call them consoles. One would be taking 000s, the next person would be on radios. So we split the radios to northwest and northeast, southwest. So Southwest is usually a little bit busier, but we can have alternate stations, and they're all applying the safe distancing rule with the way the consoles are structured. So it's a very active room, and it can go from 100% down to all quiet, and we like all quiet. But we can go to all hands in this room on a medium strip fire. We probably get more 000s on a medium strip fire than any other call. So which is crazy, because everyone's got a mobile phone and they're driving down the M4.
So David has just asked, how many calls do we get every year?
Every year would probably be around, we're sitting on 100,000 at the moment, so that's looking about 200,000 for this year if we extrapolate that. I think last year we were probably well over the 300 to 400,000 calls with those bushfires, which lasted such a long time, which, like I said, they went for 6 months, the bushfires. We were getting amazing, we were getting smashed, and that's a term that we often hear in here, that how was your shift? We got smashed, and that will be up to, there was one day I think we got 15,000 calls for one day, and a lot of those calls are real time, first time calls. A lot of them will also be inquiries about smoke, and then we'll refer them to the appropriate websites, particularly the RFS website, to go and find out more information. I believe our compatriots over at the ambulance are getting smashed at the moment during COVID-19. They're getting the calls of people who've got runny noses or whatever. That's us in the bushfires. There's a lot of smoke in the area. Should I be worried? And of course, that was normal in Sydney. Anyone who was in Sydney during the Christmas period would know.
So Jack has asked what a fourth alarm is.
Now, a fourth alarm is basically would bring you down to 8 trucks, so times it by 2. It would give you pumping appliances. You'd get two aerial appliances, major appliance, and you would get a rescue appliance.
So what's an aerial appliance?
An aerial appliance is our ladders. A lot of people call them cherry pickers in the news or the like, but we have a varying number. So we have majors and minor aerials. A major aerial can go up to, I think, 47 metres, which is, it's about 3 metres a floor. You're probably talking 10 to 12 floors with, angles. And then we range down to aerial pumpers. An aerial pump will probably go up 2-3 levels. So we would look at the risk, we would look at what the type of fire is. If we know it's high rise, we're not sending you minor aerials, we're sending you major aerials. So the biggest ones we've got, they be 47 metres, they be 31 metres and upwards. So that's what our aerials are.
So Harry's asked us how long from a 000 call to dispatch?
Almost immediate. As the 000, and we'll take you through and we'll show you one of our operators who do a fantastic job taking a 000 call. As soon as they get that address and they get that incident type, they are away. They would dispatch an appliance. They might keep the person on the phone for minutes longer, but those trucks are already on the way. So we've got our first response of 2 pumps already en route. Usually by the time we're finding out what the cross street is, or what we're finding the nearest landmark is, or are there people involved? Is there anyone still trapped? And then we'll upscale, and that's the role of the supervisors and myself to say, these people are saying there's persons reported, which is terminology that someone's still in that house. These guys will go make that a second alarm straight off the bat, and that's experience. That's the experience these guys get, and that's to ensure that weight of attack, so that when the first crews get there, they've got more resources coming behind them, and that is one of the most pivotal things of a successful outcome for a fire is that weight of attack. And probably the other thing we don't like to see is response creep. Where response creep is where we see a job go from second alarm to third alarm to fourth alarm to 8th alarm to 12th alarm, and we think, you know what, had we thrown a 6th alarm at that in the first instance, it might never have got to that 12th alarm. And that's what these guys do. That's the experience that the operational staff in this room bring. They know the jobs, they know the tone of the calls and the volume of the calls. And you'll often hear it in this room. You'll hear someone yell out and say, it's a goer, or it's a job, and that means we all pick up, don't we? We hear that call, this is a job, and it might be just the very first call to a factory, and then we start getting 2 or 3 more 000s in, and it's, let's ramp it up, guys. And you know what? If they keep it at a 4th alarm, no one ever knows if it was going to get bigger, but the sense is if we get it right in here and the crews get it right, it takes so much pressure off the responding crews. You don't probably hear about our success stories because we keep them down there, and that's due to that initial response and the intel from the operator. The operator is the first one to recognise that we've got an actual incident here.
And it's not just your supervisors that are operational firefighters, is it?
No, all our staff are operational firefighters. What they bring to this role is amazing. The experience, for instance, we'll get people call in and say, my stove's on fire. And we know a stove quickly, within a minute, will become a kitchen fire, and a kitchen fire within another minute will become a house fire. These people have all been in that situation. All our staff are operational firefighters. I think it's vital. They know by the tone or by talking to that person what their capabilities. They sum it up amazingly quick. And if they can say to the person, look, can you put a lid on that pot? Sometimes they say, no, it's too big. Can you go out, is it safe to go to the switch box and turn the main fuse to isolate the power? Or can you go to the gas meter and shut the cock off? Things like that are vital. And then our first responders who actually get on the scene, their job's more than done because we've removed that fuel. Sometimes that's not possible, and it's the experience of these people once again, which is amazing, for them to say, look, I can sum up, you're not capable of any of this. You need to just get out. You need to shut the kitchen door. You need to shut the front door. You need to keep your keys so that we can get in. We don't break your door down, but you need to get out of that building and stay out. And these people have all been to jobs where people have gone back in and it's never a successful outcome. It's always horrific. So they're talking from first-hand experience, and the experience they give, I often hear it and I'm in awe of it. Just filtering into my office, and you can tell by the tone of the call taker and the tone of the call. And then there's also that respect and empathy that our people are able to impart is amazing. To hear some of the callers talking to a person whose house is on fire, which is the worst day of their life, you can only imagine. The empathy and the respect and the information that they give them, it's truly amazing, And now with AVL, as we all know, we've got automatic vehicle locators on all our appliances. Greg, can you get maybe a truck that's running on AVL on an escalator, just on the mapping, just to show you what it looks like from a comms perspective? Have we got a
Pub 64 here? They're at an incident at the moment.
Have we got one that's running? Can you, if we can bring up one that's running, just to show how our staff can impart that information to someone. Like in the days before AVL, we would stay on the line eliciting information, and we would tell how close the truck is by hearing the siren through the 000 call. Nowadays, we can say to that person, you've got a fire truck, say the incident was going to be in Bridge Street, you've got a truck, it's only 500 metres away, they'll be there very shortly. It's just a great tool for our comms operators to put people's mind at ease, and it's great for our 000 call takers too, because they know they take some very harrowing 000 calls, and to know that help is on its way, or help is imminent, or help is right on their doorstep is an amazing thing, and I think it goes a long way to looking after the health and safety and the welfare of our people too. So AVL, MDT, as you know, we're putting messages on every printout that you receive out in the stations to warn you of the four at the door and the COVID instance. If we were to get a call into a hotel that is being used for the isolation of overseas travellers, you will get a further message, and you will get a further breakthrough message on your mobile data terminal, which is what MDT stands for, which is in every fire truck nowadays. So they have a little computer screen and they can get their mapping up, but they can also get their pre-incident plans, but they can also get their messages from comms, and they come through as a breakthrough message, which is vital. And a lot of times another 000 call will gain further information on a call that they can break into that MDT and impart that information. So if it's a particularly horrible job or something that we know, or just to tell crews that the people are actually accounted for, so that when they get there, they don't have to try and gain entry into a, quite a risky situation. They can use, all the intel at hand to make the best decisions on the fire ground to keep our fireys safe. So.
Speaking of 000 calls, shall we go and
Yeah.
see one of our operators at work? Amy has also asked if that technology is on every truck.
It is in Fire Rescue New South Wales. Some of the service exchange vehicles, we have to put a mobile data terminal on, or a mobile AVL, but we don't send a strike team out without a vehicle without having AVL now. So during times of bushfires, we send some trucks into some pretty hairy situations. That AVL helps us let them know that they're safe. And now this is David.
Hi guys, how are you?
David's one of our 000 call takers today, or are you on radios, Dave? Or
I'm on 000
000s.
today.
So Dave's an active. He stands in front of SCAD here. He's got the 3 screens. He can see what the incidents are across the state. If he receives a call from his station saying that they've returned, because he will also take business calls. We don't just lock him into 000s. He'll take all manner of phone calls. 000s are spread between the 2 comm centres, Newcastle and Sydney. Whoever's the first available operator will grab it. So we call it global. It's not global as part of the earth, but it's global New South Wales. So you might be calling from Bondi and you'll get answered by a 000 call taker in Newcastle, or you might be in Mayfield West, and Dave could be the 000 call taker that deals with your call.
It's all about the first available call operator, so that way we can get onto it as soon as we possibly can, which is obviously going to give us the best possible outcome. So yeah.
But we specify the radios, we lock them into areas, so that there is that little bit of local knowledge, I guess, with radio
definitely.
operations.
Even so, basically what we do is we divide it into 2. We'll have half of the team answering phone calls and we'll have half of the team answering radios. I've actually got a call coming in right now, so I'll answer this. Fire and Rescue New South Wales, what's the emergency?
My house is alive.
We've got a house fire. Okay, 1 second, I'll just get started. What's your address?
It's 87.
Number 87, yep.
Banaba.
Banaba. How do you spell Banaba for me, please?
UN.
B-U-N? Okay, and what town or suburb?
Quick, mate, hurry up.
Okay, 1 second, we're just searching for your address. I've got number 87, Banaba Road in Guyamere Bay. Is that correct?
Correct.
And what's actually burning at the house?
I'll wake up. The smoke alarm's went off. There's a fire.
So you've got a smoke alarm going off and you've got a small fire inside the living room, is that correct? Okay, well I can let you know that we've already got 2 fire trucks on the way, so they should be there shortly. Is everybody out of the house? Okay, yep, yeah. And how many people in the house? There's 4 people and everybody's out, is that correct? Excellent. Okay, so what I want you to do for me, now that everybody's out, make sure the doors are closed. Please don't lock them. And everybody go and stand outside the front of a letterbox, and whatever you do, don't go back inside, okay? We've got 2 fire trucks on the way and they should be there shortly. No, I understand, okay, and it's really important you don't go back into the house. Even though your wallet is inside there, please stay outside of the house. The fires will get there shortly and we'll be able to get on top of this as soon as we can. Nothing is worth as much money as your life, so I'll just get you to stay outside and the fire brigade will be there shortly. Do you understand? Okay, if anything changes, dial 000 immediately and we'll be able to get someone and help you with anything else, okay? Thanks, the trucks are on the way. Okay guys, so what we just had then is we had a person ringing up for a house fire. As we can see, as soon as we start putting all the details into our system and we select an address, it automatically responds exactly as Glenn was saying to us before, the 2 closest trucks. So the two closest fire trucks that we've got are Engadine and Miranda, 7 minutes and 7.9 minutes away. We can get them going straight away. And then if we need to get more trucks, we can get more trucks on the way.
So Amy's just asked us if this is a real call. So Amy, we wouldn't put up the public details of a real call just to protect everyone's privacy, but exactly what Dave just went through is what happens on all the triple calls,
It's a great
000
pickup,
calls.
Amy. Great pickup. Obviously, privacy is a concern for us, so it wasn't a real life call. It was purely acted, but exactly what you just saw just then is the exact process that we would go through. Obviously, for privacy reasons, we can't be broadcasting live calls. Good question. The other thing that I did want to highlight with that, and exactly as we said, it was just a scenario, it was just purely an acting, but some of the big messages that always come out of these things is it's so important for people to understand if you have a working smoke alarm in your house and you've got a working working smoke alarm and you've already designed your home escape plan, these are the things, and the home evacuation plan, these are the things that are going to save lives, okay? Ring 000, we'll get people there as soon as we can. As soon as you get out of the house, do not go back in, because as I said to the caller, the fake caller of course, nothing is as valuable as your lives. Get everybody out of the house, we stay out of the house. It's not worth going back in there.
So we've had a question about hazmat calls. So hazmat calls being hazardous materials.
Hazardous materials, yes.
Do you get a lot of those calls coming
We
through?
do. Okay, it's quite an interesting situation. I've worked in here for about 2 years now. Calls generally tend to be seasonal. Now, it doesn't take a genius to realise that during the December and January period, we were receiving a lot of triple-O calls about bushfires. As we moved into February and March, as the bushfire situation managed to get under control, we started receiving a lot more calls to hail damage, storm damage, flooding, and those sorts of calls. So you do find that certain calls are seasonal. Very, very interesting. As this whole COVID epidemic has began to evolve, what we've found is there's been less motor vehicle accidents on the road, but a lot more calls to yard fires and house fires, etc. So it definitely is a seasonal thing. Hazardous material calls, to answer your question specifically, yes, we do get quite a few calls about that. Quite often we'll get it from commercial places or even domestic ones as well. So if you ever have a spill at home that you're not sure about what it is, or you're not sure the best way to deal with it or how to clean it up effectively, the best thing you can do is to dial 000, speak to a professional. We'll get a hazardous materials team out there to assist you guys to make sure it's cleaned up effectively and as safest way we can possibly do it.
So a hazardous materials job doesn't have to be 20-litre drums of an unknown chemical.
It doesn't necessarily have to be 20 litres of an unknown chemical. It could be somebody just smashed a thermometer of mercury. Obviously, mercury can be definitely a dangerous substance. We don't necessarily want people playing around with that. So you'd call the fire brigade to assist you with dealing with something like that.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Are we able to have a look at the radio operations side of things? That's a question from Yass Valley community.
Yeah, there's not a lot of radio traffic at the moment. Marty, you're on radios. It's very quiet. If Marty here is on radios at the moment, and it is quite quiet. I think, how many calls have we got in the CAD at the moment, Dave? We're down to...
I'm specifically on East Radios
okay,
at the
you'll throw
moment.
to
Check
that.
with Marty, so...
Just talk about the MCC.
So what we might do, Erin, is have a look out here. We can see our MCC, which is our mobile command unit, or our mobile command centre. That is Bravo. We have two. I'd like to take you down there if that's okay, and show you through the MCC and how that would respond to all senior or major incidents. Fourth alarm and up is mandatory, and that would be the control centre for those on-site incident management teams. So we would pull all the police, the ambulance and all the other emergency services together and give them briefings and the like. So if you'd like, we'd like to go down there and let's have a look at the MCC.
So we've just got a couple of final quick questions about this, which is what is the call sign for comms when our crews contact our ComSen?
Sydney Fire Comms, or Fire Comms, or it's Newcastle Fire Comms. So people seem to know what area they're working in. So, but Fire Comms, pump, whatever, message.
Perfect.
Yeah. So Fire Comms is what we're known as that. So.
All right, well, we'll wrap it up in here. Thank you very much, and we'll go and have a look at your mobile command centre.
Thank you.